This is big breaking news. Officials are now warning hundreds of millions of people that they need to have, quote, 72 hours worth of supplies to deal with things like natural disasters, cyber events, and even war. All right. So let's get into all the details here really quick, guys. Please just hit that like and that subscribe. I'm posting multiple videos every day, keeping you updated on this big news, and it just helps to get these alerts out so people know what's going on. So this is happening right now. We have officials coming out of Brussels and the EU, the head of the European Union, is warning hundreds of millions of people in Europe that they need to have at least 72 hours of supplies in case of emergencies, all right? And this is happening in Europe, but it also applies to the United States. We are facing very similar things, and you need to be prepared here as well too. And they're warning every country in the EU to stockpile this. So this is a warning that everyone should take heed to and listen to and have anyways. All right, you probably already have 72 hours of supplies if you're watching, but make sure you do and check your supplies as well too, your cans, and rotate them. Right, maybe you bought stuff a few years ago and those cans are starting to go bad and those supplies might be going bad by now. Check that stuff, rotate your pantry, and make sure you're still on top of it. It says here that Europe should enhance stockpiling of critical equipment and encourage the public to maintain sufficient supplies for at least 72 hours in case of emergencies. This is what the European Commission said on Wednesday. It said the Commission said in its new EU Preparedness Union strategy that the bloc was preparing for risk including natural disasters, cyber attacks, geopolitical crisis, including possibility of armed aggression against EU countries. And it says here that families, quote, families living in flood zones should know what to do when waters rise. Early warning systems can prevent regions hit by wildfires from losing precious time. This is what the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said in a statement. All right, so this is applicable here too, right? Look at all the fires we've seen. Look at all the flooding we've seen. I've been covering it on my channel. You can go back through the past few weeks. There's been fire after fire going on. And it's in places that aren't typical as well either. It's in places like North Carolina and Florida and the East Coast. We're seeing big fires that normally only happen in the West Coast we normally see. It says here that the strategy focuses on improving early warning systems, ensuring the continuity of essential services such as healthcare and drinking water, and helping citizens prepare for responding to crises. All right, this is something too I always think about. I'm always mapping out in my head how far is water if it ever hits the fan. All right, something I need to get is a little like solar panel for my well, so it will be pumping water no matter what, even if the power goes out. But it's something always in the back of my head. I'm like, all right, we got this creek 15 minutes away, right, that I can go fishing at. There's fish in it, and there's also water just flowing year round at this creek that I can go get water. There's also a river, major river, 30 minutes away. All right, these are driving, and gas, you'd have to conserve your gas, but I have a big 200-gallon water tank. I could go there, fill these things up if I really needed to, worst come to worst. And you should have ways to filter that too. There's little straw filters, all right? There's things like Life Straw and Sawyer Mini filters that I've used for years that I just bring with me, so I can just drink right out of the stream or the creek. You don't even have to bring a water bottle. You can just drink right out of it. It has a little straw in it, and it purifies it for you, right? Look into those things. And also, if you have big tanks, you can put a little bit of chlorine in there if you really need to. All right, don't take my word for it. All right, that's what I do personally, though, is I put a tiny, tiny little bit of chlorine in the water to help purify it if we use it for RV, or if filling other tanks, things like that, or using it for any washing dishes, stuff like that. Put a tiny little bit in it, all right, just to kill all the bacteria and stuff like that. And so definitely figure out where your flowing water that you can get, if it hits the fan, figure out where that stuff is near you. There's lots of creeks and streams and all this stuff all over the place. And I'm just thinking about this because I've just been fishing these creeks, and my kids have been playing in them and all this stuff because it's been warm and nice out. So it's just what I'm thinking about. And they're warning people, have drinking water, have water bottles stocked up, right? Maybe don't be drinking out of it every day, consistently, all the time, right? And I do sometimes too. When I'm on the go, I'll grab one. But have a stockpile just in case. Have some gallon waters just in case. Have some water tanks filled up in case you need a gas tanks too, generator. It's all important, right? In case you're in an emergency situation, it could literally save your life. And it says here that the European Commissioner in charge of preparedness and crisis management said that concerns differ across the bloc, but that all citizens should make an effort to be prepared for emergencies. Quote, ready for anything. This must be our new European way of life. This is what the Commissioner for Preparedness said. Quote, the Commissioner would now develop guidelines to reach a population self-sufficiency of minimum 72 hours according to the new strategy's action plan. So they're trying to have all of society in Europe be able to stop for 72 hours and you just live off what you have available, right? It doesn't sound that hard, but when you factor in all the little things, all right, and I've lived off-grid in my RV on and off the past 5 years, and even things like flushing the toilet, right? It takes water. You're using water, washing your hands, brushing your teeth, washing dishes. It's hard to stay on top of these things when the water is limited, okay? And if the power's out, a lot of the pumps, even city water, won't work. A lot of it. Some of it will, but a lot of it won't because the pumps will be turned off and there's no pressure being put on the pipes, and the water is not going to keep flowing, right, to a lot of places. And it says here in a video posted on social media, they listed items important to have to survive 72 hours in a crisis, from food to water to a flashlight to a power bank, radio, cash, and medication, right? All good things. I have a few charger blocks for my phone. I have 2 of those that can charge it up multiple times per block. I have a little weather radio. Always have some cash on deck. And of course, flashlights and any medication you have. These things are definitely, you want to have stockpiles of it just in case, right? So I thought this was applicable here, right? This warning. It's like we aren't in Europe. I know some of you guys actually are in Europe watching, and I appreciate you guys, and I hope you guys are taking these warnings serious, because it seems like they are also really hinting that there could potentially be a big war in Europe, right? The EU is kind of saying, well, if the United States isn't going to keep funding Ukraine and keep providing weapons and assistance, that they're going to create their own army, their own conjoined army, EU army, and they're going to assist Ukraine that way, right? So they're pretty determined to push back against Russia. And they're even saying, part of this memo, that potentially this conflict between Europe and Russia could bubble up, right? And we've already seen a lot of disruptions and a lot of supply chain issues related to this war, for things like critical minerals, fertilizers, gas, oil. Lots of these things have been affected, and the supply chain has been rearranged and shuffled around the past few years due to these disruptions and these sanctions, things like that. And we could see that, but even more, right? A lot more disruptions to the supply chain between Europe, the United States, Russia, Asia, especially if China gets more involved, or China makes a move on Taiwan at the same time that a war is happening between Russia and Europe. We could see that, right? So the US has to split its resources between Europe and Taiwan and even the Middle East. So lots of things are on the back burner right now, cooking up. Hopefully we won't see it, right? Hopefully strong leadership can prevail and prevent a lot of these things from happening. I think that will most likely happen, but you should still be prepared, even if it's just a flood, even if it's just a tornado, whatever it is, you need to be ready for it. Fires, all these things are popping up across the country and across the world at accelerated rates, right? And a lot of the times they're even caused by humans, admittedly by officials. A lot of these fires that I cover in the US are human caused fires. People intentionally starting these fires, and then they get out of control and become tens of thousands of acres. Some of them, one of them in Florida I was covering last week, over 20,000 acres was human caused, and it was blocking the Highway 1 going into the Florida Keys and going out of the Keys, right? So just make sure you're prepared. Just like the people there, they were stuck there at the Keys. A lot of them couldn't leave to go get resources, right? Or go get things that they need on the mainland in Florida. And they had to wait it out for weeks, some of these people, right? The fire was going on and still ongoing. It's mostly under control, but these people were waiting, some of them weeks, right, to get off the islands and the Keys, right? So just make sure you have your stockpiles ready. I hope you guys are staying safe, staying prepared out there. I hope you have big blessings for your life, your family, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.